We're going to turn now to an important headline about fish that could have on your dinner plate. Some bluefin tuna off the California coast are carrying radioactive contamination from that nuclear plant that started leaking after last year's earthquake in Japan. ABC's Lindsay Davis here with the details. Good morning, Lindsay.
Good morning, George. Researchers admit they were not expecting this. In fact, this is the first time such a large migrating fish has been shown to carry radioactivity so far. And the scientists involved say the results are unequivocal that Fukushima was definitely the source. Researchers are calling the finding startling. Bluefin tuna arriving off the coast of California all the way from Japan, carrying radioactive contamination, apparently leaked from the Fukushima nuclear plant.
We were quite surprised, but there it was.
Researchers from Stony Brook University made the discovery about 5 months after last year's quake and tsunami. The fish had all made the 6,000-mile journey across the Pacific to the U.S. The scientists assumed the radioactivity would have been long gone by the time they arrived because big fish like bluefin tuna, which can weigh more than 1,000 pounds, would typically shed radioactive substances easily. But what they found were levels of contamination 10 times higher than amounts measured in previous years. Still, scientists say the levels are well below safe-to-eat limits and are not likely to affect humans.
I imagine that the consumption of these tuna would be far, far below the radioactivity that you would get from, for example, one dental x-ray.
There are other radioactive foods that we eat on a regular basis: bananas, Brazil nuts, carrots, green leafy vegetables, and we're still seeing levels that are below levels of concern even in those foods.
Researchers say the real test will come this summer when they repeat the study on bluefin tuna that have been swimming in radioactive waters for about 3 times as long. They also plan on testing other migratory animals to see what those levels are.
So no danger yet, but we have to keep an eye on it.
That's exactly right.
Pacific bluefin tuna is highly prized by sushi lovers, mostly in Japan. But it's also a seasonal delicacy in the United States. Now there's evidence showing some migratory bluefin caught off the coast of San Diego last summer carried low levels of radiation.
I would eat tuna probably less now that I know that, yes.
I'm still eating sushi, you know what I mean?
The source, last year's Fukushima nuclear explosion in Japan. The findings were published Monday in a prestigious scientific journal. One of the authors, who were surprised by the results, appeared on CNN's Early Start program.
Surprised, but are you concerned?
From a public health perspective, not particularly. I say that because, at least for these particular fish that we analyzed, the radioactivity was only about 3% above the natural radiation background.
Even when the researchers estimated how much radiation the bluefin contained when they were exposed in Japanese waters before their migration across the Pacific, the levels were far below what's considered safe for human consumption. The Pacific bluefin in the California study were caught by sport fishermen. Most of the bluefin eaten in the United States is farmed or Atlantic bluefin.
East Coast bluefin is something that's probably is considerably more desirable than the West Coast version. Like I said, also the farm-raised product is what primarily the sushi bars use, and not the West Coast.
The FDA, EPA, and NOAA say U.S. seafood is safe to eat and unaffected by the Fukushima incident. But they have not yet seen the results of the California bluefin study.
I personally would not hesitate to eat the tuna that were caught off California, but I don't make recommendations for other people. A lot of people are very anxious about radioactivity. A lot of the foods we eat are radioactive.
Researchers will again test bluefin tuna when they arrive on the West Coast this summer. Those would have been younger when exposed to radiation from Fukushima. They're also recommending that other migratory species be tested for radiation levels, a reminder of how when an environmental disaster happens in one part of the world, its impact can be felt globally. Casey Wyan, CNN, Los Angeles.
Tuna fish lovers and sushi eaters in particular may be getting something extra with their meal, like a dose of radioactivity. Scientists say the mighty bluefin tuna carried radioactive contamination that leaked from Japan's crippled nuclear plant to the shores of the U.S. 6,000 miles away.
Every single one of the 15 bluefin that we analyzed was radioactive with comparable levels.
Essentially, these fish spawn off the coast of Japan and then swim to the waters off California. After last year's quake and nuclear disaster, the fish were exposed to 2 radioactive substances, but scientists were shocked to see those levels sustained on the trip east.
We were quite surprised to see 2 different radioisotopes of cesium, cesium-134 and cesium-137, in these samples.
But others say this was easily predicted.
Not overly surprised, to be honest, obviously with the scale of the incident in Japan, but also the fact that these are highly migratory species who regularly make the journey from the west to the east and the east to the west of the Pacific.
Scientists say they plan on keeping an eye on this for years, but want to make it clear that while the fish are radioactive, they are far below safe to eat levels set here and in Japan. Ross Simpson, The Associated Press.
This next item made a lot of U.S. consumers sit up and take notice today. Bluefin tuna caught off the California coast have been found to contain elevated levels of radioactive matter dating back to the Japanese earthquake and tsunami that led to that nuclear accident at the Fukushima power plant. Our report tonight from NBC's Miguel Almaguer.
Today at the San Pedro Fish Market in Southern California, Don Cadota inspects the catch of the day and stressed his fish are safe to eat.
The word radiation creates fear in people.
The 15 bluefin tuna caught and tested off California's coast last summer showed low levels of radiation, but still 10 times higher than normal. Scientists say it's the first time a fast-moving migrating fish has been shown to carry radioactivity from Japanese waters.
We almost didn't believe it, to tell you the truth.
Dr. Nicholas Fisher, professor of marine sciences, co-authored the study.
Every single fish was significantly contaminated with 2 radioisotopes of cesium. And these are common waste products from nuclear accidents.
The research shows the bluefin tuna that spawn and feed in the waters near the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant migrated some 6,000 miles, reaching Southern California just a few months after the disaster. Though the sample fish are contaminated, the levels are far lower than what's considered dangerous.
Today, the FDA said they'll continue to monitor radiation levels in fish, and no public health concern has been detected.
I don't think I'll change the way that I eat, not at the moment.
It's definitely made me alter just a little bit, not eat quite so much.
Look at the tuna jumping right there.
Massive in size, up to 10 feet, and weighing more than 1,000 pounds, Pacific bluefin tuna is a delicacy, often eaten as sushi around the world.
Scientists say the real test on how radiation affects migrating fish will come this summer. Researchers will look at fish that have spent more time in contaminated waters and could have even higher levels of pollution.
I think that is a distinct possibility, and we honestly don't know the answer.
Today, Japanese officials announced they'll conduct more testing in their waters. This as researchers here do the same. Miguel Almaguer, NBC News, San Pedro, California.
Are you serious? Are you serious? Wormwood! I mean, that might be what's about to the implement. It's obvious we got a problem. Japan. Yes, there's and I want to thank Bert McGill for this report. Fukushima has released 13 billions, with a B, 13 billion times more neutrons than initially estimated. Obvious, the implications for human health is disastrous, according to the Japanese government. Neutron radiation is the most severe, the most dangerous radiation known to mankind. It can travel great distances, and Japan is now admitting, almost 4 years later, that the amount of neutron radiation released from the crippled Fukushima nuclear power plant is 13 billion times more than they first told us, which was unacceptable then. Can I read 2 verses and then I'll give you the rest of this report? Listen to this. Here's what it says in Revelation. And I know we haven't been hit with this burning lamp, but think if we do now. Here's what it says in Revelation chapter 8, verse 10. And a third angel sounded, And there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp. And it fell upon the third part of the rivers, and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood. And a third part of the waters became wormwood. And many men died of the waters, because they were made bitter or poisonous. It's way worse than originally thought. This is a wormwood moment. I'm not saying this is wormwood, but I'm telling you the poison is here.